There's kind of the vanilla world that most people live in, a job and a house and a kid. There's this other world right under the surface of that, this very gray. And that's the shady side of the world. There are people that profit off of deception.
Understanding what someone needs and someone wants, that is the real art of the con. They'll see a crowd and they say, there's a lot of people with my money in their pocket, and I want to do something about that.
In Better Call Saul, Jimmy and Kim pulled off a spontaneous con, playing the parts of inexperienced investors Victor and Giselle to scam sleazy businessman Ken Wins into buying them rounds of Zafiro Añejo. Why? Well, because they could do it. Most of us believe that we're too smart to be conned. Don't think it can happen to you? Maybe that's the first step in falling for a con.
My name is Logan Devine, Simon Quinn, John Foster, Declan McManus. My name is Aidan Sinclair, and I'm a retired grifter. I had 7 to 10 different identities. I had a suitcase full of stuff, and I might put on a Notre Dame sweatshirt and a hat and be a college kid. Other days I'd put on a $2,000 Hugo Boss suit, was living in a penthouse suite, a Porsche and a Jaguar in the garage. That life becomes addictive. It's the edge, it's the rush, it's the adrenaline.
A con artist enjoys getting something for nothing. And they're also going to play upon that desire in their fellow man.
I grew up here in Hell's Kitchen. Back then, it was a really kind of rough neighborhood. All of Times Square was porn theaters, and there was always police sirens. At about 6, lost my father, got adopted, ended up in this kind of difficult house. You know, a lot of alcohol, a lot of fist flying. By the time I was 10, I was pretty much on my own. Started to skip school, and one time I ran into a 3-card Monte game. I caught on to it pretty quick, and I enjoyed the theater of it. He would deliberately drop a card or give a tell, and
which one you got? Which one you got?
There was always a winner, and it was his own employee, so the money was all just going in one big circle. The guy that I learned 3-card Monte from had this ethos of, it's your fault. You should know better. Why would you ever put your money on that table? But every day people did.
Whether it's 3-card Monte or a pyramid scam, 20 bucks or 20 million, it's all the same. That con artist is playing upon the greed of the victim, the mark, the sucker. A mark comes from, in the old carnivals, the ticket booths were very high. When someone opened their wallet, if they had a lot of cash, the ticket taker could see that, and they'd give a sign to someone who's working the crowd, and they'd go up to the person and they'd say, oh, you know, have a good time, hope you have a good time at the carnival, and had a piece of chalk in their hand, and literally would put a mark on the person's back. They have the money.
Everything is about sizing someone up. Can you get the outcome that you need?
Former professional grifter Aidan Sinclair made a career out of conning those who never thought they would become a mark.
Back in the 90s, I set up an underground poker room in Washington, D.C. I had a guy one night that lost all of his money. He was a lobbyist for the platinum industry. So he comes up to me and says, hey, can we get some credit? I said, no, we don't do that. So he reaches in his pocket and he pulls out a platinum ingot, almost $250,000 in platinum. Would you hold this for 24 hours? And I was like, that I can do. We have them. And you come back tomorrow, we get the bar of platinum. There is no safe, there is no room, there's nothing. Poof.
Ideally, you want to take down someone that deserves to lose it. Then you can feel good about it because they had it coming.
One of the girls that worked for us at the room had been in a relationship with a guy that was immensely abusive, took all of her money, kind of left her on the street. Just a pretty horrible human. We decided we'd at least get this girl her money back, and once she let us know that he played cards, then we kind of had him. He was a money guy. He dealt in a lot of jewelry. We were able to entice this guy into the room, sat him at the table, and made sure he lost. We had a bruiser of a bodyguard guy to pull him aside and explain to him he needed to come up with collateral to cover the loss, or he might have an accident. He came back with diamonds from work that he shouldn't have touched, and then we called his boss. Yeah, and he went to jail. We fenced the diamonds off. We made some good money. We gave her a good score. I think there's a certain karma. In the world of grift, come into a place, you make your score, and then you disappear. It's the idea of walking between raindrops, not being noticed. The problem with that is that if you do it for a long time, you become invisible. For 15 years of my life, I didn't live under my real name. No personal attachments, no family, no friends. I didn't exist. Once you go into that world, you're going to open yourself up to doing other things that you didn't think you would end up doing.
It depends, how you want to sleep at night. There's an old saying that's very much a misnomer, which is you can't cheat an honest man, and you can.
I was trying to get off the grid. I ended up bartending in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And I ran into a guy that was an FBI agent. I had to get out of town. The problem was I only had about $200. The restaurant I was working in had this book. So when you called to make a reservation, what's your credit card number? And it was written down on a piece of paper. I had somebody that I got to know and was like, hey, my uncle owns this tour company in Ireland, wants to start bringing Irish tourists here to America. You want to be in the tourism business? Like, yeah, that would be kind of fun. So he started the company in his name. So you're going to need a credit card processor. And then we spent about 3 hours running about 100 different credit cards through that machine. Made about $125,000 in a day. And within 48 hours, I was in the wind, I was gone, didn't exist. That poor guy went from being very happy one day of like, I'm a business owner and everything's great, to his entire world falling in on him. I spent 15 years of my life making money at the expense of others. And I hit a point where I was like, I'm not the good guy in my story. How do you change that? You can't undo the things that you did. I think what you can do, though, is take accountability for the things that you do wrong in life. And that was 5 years of my life in prison. But walking out of prison, I can look in the mirror and go, you know what, I made a lot of mistakes in my life, and I'm trying to be better. And you try to be better every day.
Con artistry will always be around because con artistry relies upon human nature. Everyone is vulnerable. You roll the dice and take your chances. But if you protect yourself, if you don't think you're smarter than you are, if something seems too good to be true, it isn't true. If you don't play the game, you won't lose.
What constitutes a con that's gone too far? Is it the one-off short cons of Slippin' Jimmy? Or the faux legal cons of Saul Goodman? Or is it the life-ruining long cons of true grifters? Can you really cheat an honest person? Are there any real honest people left to be cheated?